The National Organization for Women opposes Judge Clarence Thomas for the U.S. Supreme Court, perceiving his political perspectives to be not left enough for them. WABC's Frank Lepore reports.
Now, Executive Vice President Patricia Ireland is mobilizing the organization to, as she says, bork the nomination of Judge Thomas to the Supreme Court, a court Ireland calls already dangerously out of balance.
This would seal the fate for the next 40 years.
In moving to bork Thomas, as you say, how do you mobilize that effort?
It's a little easier to mobilize, I think, at this point, because the Rust v. Sullivan decision already sounded an alarm.
An alarm Ireland concludes that threatens pro-choice, the medical community, and free speech. Frank Lepore, WABC News.
Thank you, Frank. No big changes in the unemployment rate. New York City's jobless number went down to 8.7% in June, and in New Jersey, more improvement. 6.6% of the workers there are not working. Trouble on Amtrak's Northeast Corridor line today. Two separate problems. A locomotive caught fire between New York and Boston, and power lines broke south of New Brunswick. Combined, they disrupted service for about 50 Amtrak trains. Connecticut's legislature still hasn't made up its mind whether or not to pass a state income tax hike. So there's still no budget, and the impasse between the legislature and Governor Weicker continues. Finally, Governor Mario Cuomo hasn't said whether he endorses Judge Clarence Thomas or not, but he does have praise for him. Says he's impressed by the judge. And I'll quote him. He says, "You have to be impressed with his ability to force his way up over the odds and on his emphasis on judging things on their merits and doing things himself." Weather forecast tonight, chance of light rain or drizzle. Ending before midnight, becoming partly cloudy and lows near 70. Saturday, partly sunny, humid, highs about 85 degrees. Saturday night, it'll be mostly clear with lows near 70, and on Sunday, ought to be 87 degrees and a lot of sunshine. At the moment, however, it's cloudy and 67. I'm Harley Carnes, WABC News, along with Bob Grant.
And let's be heard. Round two of our get-together, the Bob Grant program on WABC, this July 5th. 1991. July 6th, 1991 is a date that will have historic import here at WABC. And the reason I say that is the woman who sits opposite me right here in Studio 17A. On July 4th of 1988, she was hired officially to preside over the airwaves here on WABC, I believe at noontime, from noon until 2. And then on January 18th, 1990, she was unceremoniously dumped, fired, axed, canned from this very radio station. She had a brief reprise, a very brief reprise, a temporary reprise, November 7th of 1990, when they attempted to team her up with the former morning host here, Jay Diamond. I think by this time you all know that I'm talking about the one and only Lynn Samuels, and let me say, before I officially introduce Lynn, we're going to have a conversation. I didn't invite Lynn here to argue with her or berate her. I don't want to berate her because I like Lynn Samuels. Now, a lot of you people out there, a lot of people who have the same political philosophy I do, a lot of you people have said to me in the past, how could you like her? Well, I'll tell you very simply this. I know her as a person. And whatever she says on her broadcast, reflecting her own political viewpoints, her own philosophical judgments, her own social considerations, are hers. That doesn't interfere with the fact that as a human being, I like her. And I'll tell you something else, which has nothing to do with whether I like her or not. She is one of the few people in the history of my broadcasting career where I could make a personal appearance and get a big rise out of the audience simply by saying, "Would you rather have Lynn Samuels?" And they'd all go, "No!" And immediately I'd win the crowd over. And I'll tell you something else. You're able to laugh at yourself, which is very rare these days.
Well, you have to. You have to laugh at yourself before everybody else laughs at you.
But may I be so presumptuous to ask you to make me a promise? I mean,
Sure.
I mean, you could. I'm just asking you to promise.
Okay.
Please don't get fired.
Oh, I promise.
Okay. Fred Winehouse, you hear that? She promised not to get fired. Lynn, I don't think you're going to change your basic style. And the way I had you pegged before is, in many ways, you reminded me of myself, in that you were telling people what you believed, whether they liked it or not. Are you still going to do that?
Yes. I only know how to be one person, and that I only know how to be me. So I have to tell people, you can't expect everybody to agree with you. Some people used to agree with me.
Now, did you have to make any kind of agreement before you came back here, at least?
Oh, I don't know. It was something about my firstborn son, I think, but, you know.
You had to make
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or my soul to the devil. I didn't really read it all. I just.
Well, you know,
agreed.
you've got a lot of friends here. There are a lot of people who back in January of 1990 felt bad when you got the axe. I'm not the only one who was rooting for you. You know that.
Yes, I do.
And I like you back because you add a little spice to the lineup. You give. You had a whole lot of things, some humor, some spice, and a lot of controversy.
Yeah, I was asked to ask you about something, and I don't even want to do it.
Who asked you to ask?
Somebody who listens to you every day. See, I work in this laundromat, and I can put the radio on, but I can't really pay much attention. You know, people are picking up their laundry and getting quarters and stuff, so I can't really ask. But somebody said, do you know what Bob Grant said? People are always saying that to me as though I am somehow responsible for everything you say.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So somebody said, the way they say to you, do you know what she said?
Yeah.
So somebody said that you were happy that those two pregnant teenage girls, one got shot in New Jersey and one got run over, and that you said, that was nice, that we wouldn't have to support their children or something.
I didn't say it was nice. I said, isn't it curious that every time somebody is in a situation like that, it turns out that you read a description saying the teenager was pregnant. And I said, what it does mean is that we won't have to pay for the prenatal, the natal, the postnatal care, and we won't have to pay the horrendous cost of incarcerating that individual when he grows up, because 99 out of 100 times he's going to be an enemy of society. So to a certain extent, they're right. I never used the term, isn't it nice? But isn't it interesting that people would dwell on that?
Well, they just asked me about it, and I keep telling people what a nice guy you are,
Mm-hmm. Well, I would imagine that the people... Now, you live in the village, right?
Yes.
East, west? What?
West.
West.
Right, you have a friend around the corner. We've discussed this.
Oh,
we don't
that's
want to
right.
get too specific about where, but you've told me you have a friend who lives right around the corner from me.
That's right. That's right. And he's... if anything, he's even more conservative than I am. So can you imagine the...
Does he ever leave his house?
Well, he does, but he's a tough guy, and I hate to tell you all the heads he's bopped, and a certain specific group that is his favorite target.
Aw, I can imagine.
But he only bops them with his
Nice.
fist. He's not hitting anybody with a bat or anything like that.
Oh, Bob!
All right, Lynn Samuels is with us, folks. Lynn,
Whining already.
I want to say something which is very, well, it's going to surprise a lot of people, because I'm going to say something controversial and something very sensitive here. But why should I be any different than I always am? Management. And I'm not faulting management. I'm not faulting Fred. I'm not faulting John. I'm not faulting anybody. But management, traditionally, with the best of intentions, will try to put two people together to team them up. And that's a very risky proposition because of the chemistry involved. I did have a partner on the West Coast in the early 60s. He was extremely talented, but he was lazy. He was super sensitive. And although I liked him personally, I found that it was impossible to work with him anymore. And each day was a struggle to go in and talk on the microphone as though everything was peachy keen. Now, having said that, I know the first time you got fired, they tried to team you up with the fellow from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And you objected to that because you felt it was an infringement on your program, and you just, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you just couldn't hack it. How'd you feel about it at the time?
Well, we had no rapport. I mean, I said at that time, I don't know that we should even be bringing this up, but I mean, I said, please put me on the air with Bob or Rush or you know, anybody, but not, you know, you just don't have any rapport with some people, and we certainly had no rapport.
Yeah. All right. Now, what about when you came back in November, and they tried you with Jay? What was that like?
I'll tell you something. I was so tired. Getting up at 3, I don't know how it was like. I did it for 3 days. I got up at 3:30 in the morning. I was semi-conscious. And, I mean, obviously it didn't work, but I don't know whether it didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work, but I don't know how anybody does it. You never did a morning show, did you?
I did for about 17, 18 months, and then I said I would rather sell shoes in a laundromat than do that.
I was once on a panel with Gene Clavin, who said he did it for 25 years, and he never got used to getting up at that hour that you get up 3:30 in the morning. It's inhuman.
It's not natural, and I would have nothing to do with it. All right, I wanted to ask you those questions, and I appreciate your honest answers, but I think it's important that the audience understand it's not easy to just put somebody together with somebody else in the studio and say, hey, you're a team. It's not easy.
No, it's very hard. I mean, you have to know how to work with people. I've never been comfortable with people. See, already I'm interrupting you.
No, that's all right.
And I revere you.
No, it's all right. As a matter of fact, you know why it's all right? Because it's natural. If we were just talking without the microphone in the way, we're just talking, we'd interrupt each other. We wouldn't.
But you're Bob Grant. See, I can't get over that. I mean, from the minute I first came here, I listened to you since the day you came to New York on that religious station, which wasn't then. And, you know, like I kept saying, I can't believe it. I'm on the same radio station as Bob Grant. Like, I sit here and I get done and then he walks in. I've never recovered from that my whole life. That I know you.
Well, you haven't let it interfere with the job that you've done, and I'm sure that the listeners are going to be treated to vintage Lynn Samuels beginning tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Would you like to warm up a little bit and talk to some of the public out there, for better, for worse, see what they have to say? Are you game for that?
Sure.
All right, we'll do that in just a moment. For the nonce, we'll call it the Lynn and Bob Show. Because I'm a male chauvinist, I'll give you first billing. The Lynn and Bob. Who knows, maybe Fred is listening, and when I come in Monday, he's going to say, hey, guess what? You did so good. Lynn's going to be your permanent co-host. This portion of the Bob Grant Show brought to you by BMW. All right?
You know what that really meant? That really meant I thought I was only here on a tour. I didn't ask for a sex change operation. That's what that means.
That's right. I didn't know that you understood.
Yes.
You're a linguist.
I speak 37 or 38 languages. Just from those 2 days, I learned all those languages.
All right. Are you ready for the phones?
I don't know. I guess so.
All right. Let's try calling from New Jersey. New Jersey. This is your first phone call since returning to WABC, and it comes from a gentleman identifying himself as Simon. This is for you, Lynn. Yes, go ahead, Simon.
It's so wonderful to have you back, Lynn.
Thank you.
I've missed you so much.
Thank you.
Well, let's pick up where we left off. Okay, Simple Simon says, kiss and hug Bob Grant now.
Oh, is that Shticklock? I guess so. Oh, Shticklock. Okay, Francis from Manhattan. Hello.
Hello, Lynn.
Yes.
I think I once heard you say that your folks were in education. Am I right about that?
Yes.
And also, I know you are a NOW member. I assume you are a NOW member.
I most certainly am not.
You are not?
No, I don't like NOW.
Well, that's interesting. But I did want to ask you this question. Do you think that Judge Thomas, at age 43, would intellectually have been equipped to be the court nominee if he had been a product of our public school system, especially at a time when he was growing up and the progressive, so-called progressive system was foisted on the public schools at that time? You know, Lynn, it's sad but true that if a child attended a parochial a private school, or a yeshiva, that child seems to have a better chance of future success. I'd like your opinion.
Well, I'm a product of the New York public school system, and I'm 5 or 6 years older than he is. And I think I did pretty well. So, I mean, he went to parochial school. That's kind of an off-the-wall question, because he did go to Catholic school. I think school is what you make out of it, you know? I think you can go through public school and be intellectually equipped to be a Supreme Court justice.
All right, Francis, I thank you. I thank you for the call, and Lynn is in good form already. Lynn, you're on WABC. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Bob, I just wanted to congratulate Lynn on being back on WABC. I got to say that I missed you, Lynn.
Thank you.
I tried finding you on whichever station that was you were on, but I never could, turn the dial on the proper number. So I'm happy to have you back where I can find you.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Oh, they're being so nice.
Well, let's see, because they're welcoming you here on
I'm
this
afraid
program.
I'm going to get fired for here before I ever get to my own show tomorrow.
It won't happen. Won't happen. You know why?
Why?
I went over to Fred Winehouse's house and had all the radios dismantled.
Oh, okay. Thank goodness.
Okay. And Herb is on WABC. Hello, Herb.
Yes, good afternoon, Bob. Good afternoon, Lynn.
Hi.
Lynn, I just wanted to convey my heartfelt wishes that I hope you have a successful return to ABC.
Thank you.
And I will say one thing for you. We're never boring. You used to always elicit a response, which I think really is... it makes you very interesting.
That's what it's all about.
Now, Herb is proof of what I said earlier, because Herb was in the crowd at the Rio Diner, one of the broadcasts we did from the Rio Diner. Herb, maybe you remember when I came out, when Broadway Roy introduced me, I said to the crowd out there, I says, "Did you want Lynn Samuels?" And they all roared, remember?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
Yes, I did. That's something that Lynn is. She's unique to New York, and again, we welcome her back, and I hope that, Lynn, I like you to be controversial, but don't, tread lightly, so to speak, okay?
Okay.
Take care now.
I'm going to try.
Bye.
Okay. It's Ken checking in right now. Hello, Ken.
Hello, Mr. Grant, and hello, Lynn.
Hi.
I can't tell you how happy I am that you're back on the radio again.
Thank you. Has your Bob's audience has changed?
On Saturday morning, I used to listen to the Best of Grant, which was the best. And at 10 o'clock, my radio went off immediately to another station because you were gone. And now it will stay on WABC.
Good. You could take any 3 or 4 hours of Bob, and it would be the Best of Grant.
Well, I take 15 all week and another 4 on Saturday. But I just want to welcome you back. And are you going to continue on in the same vein that you did before you left? The same types of calls and conversations?
I guess so. I only know how to be one person, and this is it.
That's great. And also for you, Mr. Grant, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your honesty and your candor in telling Lynn how you feel about her personally and professionally. And you certainly leave no question in the mind of your listeners. And that's just one more reason why I respect you and your opinion so very much.
All right. Thank you.
Sir.
Yeah, I recall several months ago I made the suggestion that we bring you back, and I got... if looks could kill, I wouldn't be here right now, let me tell you. Let's try Elliot on WABC. Hello, Elliot.
Yes, hello, Bob. Hello, Lynn.
Hi, Elliot.
All right, listen, I just want to tell you congratulations.
And you can't listen, I know.
No, but what I wanted to say is I hope that ABC will not wait as long to get you back on a daily basis as it did to rehire you. I think
Elliot can't. Elliot is Orthodox, so Elliot can't listen.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be just a matter of time. You'll be back on every day. And everybody should, no matter whatever stupid things you say, they should realize what the station was like without you. You can only be a plus. And just one piece of advice for you. The next time you curse out Mr. Winehouse, you say, "Sir."
Yes, Elliot.
Okay.
Hey, Elliot, listen, I was talking to Rabbi Abba Rabinowitz, and he said you can listen if you turn the radio on just before sundown on Friday and leave it there.
Okay.
The key is not to turn the switch.
Not to touch it before.
Okay?
Okay, Bob.
All right.
Okay.
Or have an automatic switch turning it on.
Well, and
Did you
that's
know that?
what we want anyway, is to have everybody's radio turned on WABC all the time.
No, the interpretation of halakhic law is that if you do that, it's okay.
Or you can get a Shabbos goy.
Well, or Shabbos girl. It's 4:30 on WABC. We're going to continue with Lynn Samuels here, who will be broadcasting every Saturday beginning tomorrow from 10 until 1, that's 10 a.m. until 1 p.m., right here on WABC. WABC, go ahead, please. Al, are you there? Al? Are you there? No, we don't. I guess Al chickened out. All right, let's try Jim over here from Englewood. Yeah, Jim.
Hello there, Bob. Lynn, I'd like to welcome you back to join your in joining your female compatriot on the 9 o'clock to 12 route, you being on Saturday, of course.
Yep.
Not that I agree with what you say, because I disagree with 90% of what both of you say. It's only that because I believe that most people in this country are moderate, that for you and your compatriot to express your views with guests such as Ramsey Clark and Kunstler and Gary Sick and all the rest of the menagerie, I believe that when you give this exposure to the moderates, the most of us in this country, you only go to prove what political masochists the liberal wing of the Democratic Party is.
You never listen to me very closely, because I wouldn't talk to William Kunstler if he was the last man on earth.
I only cite him as a generic example of the debris that occasionally shows up on your show.
Well, he never showed. I dislike William Kunstler intensely.
You see, Lynn has a quality which I identify with, and that is, even if on the surface someone seems to agree with you, be politically in concert with you, but that person has other qualities which make them reprehensible, disgusting, loathsome, makes you revile them, then you have nothing to do with them.
Right.
And you can't say that about everybody. Some people compromise themselves because they're interested in promoting a political idea or philosophy. Lynn has very strong political views. There's no doubt about that. You don't need me to tell you that. But even so, she won't compromise herself and have a scum like William Kunstler on her program.
But of course, Bob, you and I probably think he's scum for different reasons. Do you know what he did? The reason I won't talk to him? When people were first finding out about the massacre in Cambodia and criticizing it, and people on the left, Joan Baez was somebody who really spoke out against it, William Kunstler said, nobody must ever criticize a communist government. And that, I said, forget this. I mean, Pol Pot slaughtered like 4 million people. And William Kunstler is saying, well, we can't criticize him. Well, really, William Kunstler, we really can. And that was the end of it. I mean, I don't care what he does.
Yeah,
He's just awful.
He said you don't criticize them in public. That was the occasion when Joan Baez and Susan Sontag, by the way, both were very outspoken on that. All right, let's say hello to Noreen on WABC. Noreen, hello.
Hello. I only have 2 words for Lynn Samuels. For advice, don't whine on your new job.
Oh, people tell me I whine. I'm not aware that I whine.
I make capital letters. And I want to know something. The reason for your dismissal, did you bop Barry Farber in the nose that last time I heard you on the radio?
No, I did not.
Oh, it sounded like...
I don't believe in physical violence. Certainly not against a man that's about 6'3".
He is.
Yeah, he's real big.
Oh.
I don't hit.
I thought you bopped him in the nose that afternoon.
Did you really think that? Noreen?
Almost.
Almost. Okay, Noreen.
I just yelled.
Bye.
Noreen, you're calling from Short Hills, New Jersey, right?
Yes.
Do you know Barbara Russell and her pal Ingrid and her pal Sandy?
From Joms?
At Joms, yes.
You asked me that the last time I saw you.
Oh, really?
No.
By the way, is Joe Greenblatt still coming in there to get his hair done?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know Miss Moskin from John's.
What is the number one reading material in there? Is it the Inquirer, the Globe, the Star? What is it?
I don't read that.
By the way, did you see that? Tom Selleck is suing the Globe for $20 million?
But I don't understand why he's suing the Globe. They printed an article about a group that puts up those posters. So why doesn't he sue the group putting up the posters?
Maybe his lawyer said we could get more from the Globe.
Yeah, well, they probably have no money.
Right. All right. Thank you, Noreen.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Let's try Joe. Hello, Joe.
Hi. Lynn.
Yeah.
You got any thoughts about the St. John's sexual case, the way it was covered in the papers 2 weeks ago?
In
How
what?
graphic it was covered.
Do you know something interesting about the St. John's case? I read that Newsday published the testimony in New York Newsday, word for word, what that woman said, very graphically.
Very graphic.
But that the Long Island Newsday apparently did not put word for word what she said, that they thought the sensibilities of the people on Long Island were so much more delicate than the sensibilities of the people in Manhattan, which actually is probably true.
And since she's not on the stand anymore, the trial's still going on, but you hardly hear anything. It's on page 22 now. But as long as it was sexy and stuff, it was in the paper.
Well, of course.
By the way, the reporters really haven't shown much interest in this case until the complainant took the stand. And then all of a sudden the reporters and
then you
photographers
got
are
all the
there.
sex out there. But they also made very little about the fact that she was black and they were white. I mean, that was something that
until
people started demonstrating.
Well, why should they make anything out of it? A rape is a rape, no?
Because you have to question whether they would have done it to a white woman. I mean, really.
Exactly.
That there's another element in there.
Really, you think so?
Yeah.
Sure.
What are you suggesting that they...
these people have no regard.
Are they Robert De Niro types? You know, Robert De Niro prefers black women. You know, he lived with one black woman, dumped her, now he's with another black woman. Are you suggesting that they just like black women, or that they...
No, I'm suggesting that they have no regard for women to begin with, but they probably have less regard for black women.
Lynn, you're acting like your real self. What's up, girl? I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Good luck.
That's Joe of Woodside checking in. Here's Mary out there in Long Island, where they have the sensibilities that we spoke of. Mary, hello.
Hello, Bob.
Yeah.
And welcome, Lynn.
Thank you.
The day you left was the day I turned my radio off until Bob came on. And although I don't agree with hardly anything he says, I admire his intelligence floors me.
But he's so cute.
He is smart, though. Don't agree with him, but he is smart. But when Joy came on, I turned it back, then shut it off for Rush, and now I'll be back to you, and I welcome you back.
Thank you.
And
you'll be listening to Rush any minute. You know, you'll just get so used to having ABC on that you'll even listen
not
to
me.
Rush.
Give me Bob, give me Joy, give me Lynn. That's it. But anyway, welcome back.
Thank you.
I can't listen to you tomorrow because I have to watch Wimbledon because I'm into tennis. But I will...
Well, so watch Wimbledon and listen to me.
I will.
If you're into tennis, then you know what's going on, right?
Well,
without hearing it.
I'm sure it won't be a 3-hour match, so I'll hear part of you. But welcome back. Good luck. And be good, huh?
That's what everybody's telling me.
Everybody wants her to be good. They don't want her to get canned
Well,
anymore.
I don't know, Bob. Didn't you get fired from several radio stations in your career?
No. Only one time I got stabbed in the back by a general manager who has since fallen on very hard times because I put the malocchio on him.
The what?
If you're listening, Rick, it's the curse of Grant on you, you skunk.
Whoa!
Yeah. The malocchio, that's an Italian word for the
curse?
evil eye. Malocchio.
Malocchio.
Yeah,
Okay.
see? It works, too. It's scary. Especially when you have a Calabrese's grandma who knew some gypsies. But that's another story. On WABC.
I thought you might find this amusing. I was selected to be on that St. John's panel, the jury, and we had to fill out a 10-page questionnaire. And one of the questions was, what radio and television shows do you listen to? So I put down, of course, that I'm an avid listener of the Bob Grant Show. And I had to sit through some very boring questioning for a week at a time, and they told us that this trial was going to go on for the whole summer. And I'm trying to start a business. I had various other reasons I didn't want to stay there for the whole summer. And at the very last minute, they said, if you have any real objections to being on a trial, raise your hand and you can approach the bench with the judge and the both lawyers for both sides and give your story as to why you don't want to be on. So I approach the bench and I tell them I'm trying to start a business and I can't be on a trial all summer, and my 80-year-old mom is up from Florida. I got to take her around to get her eyeglasses, and I just don't have the time. And the judge excuses me. And as I'm stepping down off the bench, one of the lawyers says to me, we had already decided on both sides we were going to excuse you anyway. We noted what your selection of radio programs was. And then he says, If you hurry home right now, you won't miss the end of the Bob Grant show.
Well, okay. Interesting
Thought you'd
story.
find that interesting.
I thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you, Marty. Okay. Lynn Samuels, you talk about living in the West Village and you talk about working in the laundromat. You really do work in the laundromat, right?
In fact, I'm going to be an hour and a half late. Poor Marlene is waiting.
Do you pick up a lot of gossip for your show? A lot of talk that's going around? I'm serious.
No, not. I mean, it's all personal gossip about people nobody knows. You know.
Now, I met your father many, many years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, you might not know this, but many years ago, when there was a committee had formed, Bob Grant for Mayor Committee. I know it sounds so silly because back in those days, I really thought that maybe I could and should become the mayor of New York and solve all our problems. John Lindsay, the Tower of Jelly, was concluding his second term, and I wanted to save the city from the likes of Little Abe Beam. Is he under the table there? Let's see. I got to be careful. He might be there. You there, Abe? No, he's not there. Anyway, there was this meeting that was to be held, what they called a perfunctory meeting.
Coffee. I never saw a person drink so much coffee in my whole life. I never go to the bathroom, which is what's amazing. And then at the end, my father said to you that I called you on the air. I used to call you all the time. And every single time I ever called you, you hung up on me. Every time, invariably. And you promised my father you would never hang up on me again. But you did. Every time I ever called.
You see when a guy's going into politics? You see the promises he'll make? You see? But that was what the meeting was. But there were a couple of assemblymen there and a couple of other officials.
I don't know. I just watched you. I really did. I just sat there and looked at you drinking coffee.
Okay, that's all.
And all these years later, I'm looking at you and you're drinking coffee.
What am I doing right now? What am I doing?
Drinking coffee.
Okay, on WABC, let's say hello to Scott. Scott.
Yeah. Hello, Bob.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I see you have some company there. I'm not really happy about her being back. Lynn, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, let me tell you, I have a big problem with you. Amongst many other things, one time somebody called you up on your old show and asked you if something to do with the capital punishment, and then you brought up the idea that why should anybody get capital punishment for shooting a police officer, killing a police officer? That you felt that, who is a police officer? Was he anybody special? Why should they get that treatment and they're nobody special? And I just really felt that you have a general intolerance, a hatred for authority figures. And let me ask you something. If a police officer was about to help you and you were in a life-threatening situation and he knew of your opinion, do you think he'd really be wrong in not risking his life helping you because he knew how you felt? Or should he just risk his life and get killed? Because you said he's not a special person, and just by virtue of the fact that he would risk his life to help you or anybody else.
First of all, I don't approve of capital punishment in general.
Right.
Secondly, if somebody killed you and you approve of capital punishment, you think they should get I mean, a police officer is another human being.
You know something? You're so wrong.
Why is...
No, hey, Scott, look.
Why, is your life worth less than somebody else's life because the other person is a police officer?
Well, let me ask you something. You know why the police officer's special? It's so obvious that you can't understand this. If you're out there and somebody's got a gun pointed at you, what other schmuck is going to come running up and help you and risk his life besides the police officer? He's the only person that will do that. That's what makes him special. He stands for the law. He stands for the law. He stands for law and order, which is something which you invariably oppose.
You oppose law and order?
No.
Scott, I think you're missing a point here. I'm for capital punishment, as you well know.
I know that, Bob.
However, there is a certain logic to the argument that says either have it for all murder one cases or don't have it at all, but don't have it if you happen to kill a police officer. Why should it be for just killing a police officer?
Well, I could see the reasoning behind that, but the reasoning that she's using is different. It's not that she is saying let's elevate everybody up to that point. It's let's bring them down and just make them as if they were an ordinary person walking down the street getting killed in a mugging.
But everybody's life is equally valuable. You know, I mean, I'd like to see... I mean, I oppose capital punishment to start with. But, I mean, this woman who just got killed, the woman in Chinatown who was visiting New York from Maryland.
Yeah.
I mean, is her life not worth as much as somebody else's life? If the person shot happened to have been a policeman or a police person or whatever you're supposed to say now.
All right, Scott, I
that all
thank you.
mixes me up, that PC stuff.
Thank you very much for the call, Scott, and we'll conclude in just a moment.
Hi.
Oh, let me shut off my radio.
Don't you love that?
I think he's doing a little...
Sound effects.
Yeah,
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Right, let's try George here from Manhattan for Lynn. Yeah, George.
Yes, hello, Mr. Grant. Lynn.
Yes.
This is George, Jan's father-in-law.
Oh, George, hi.
Well, welcome back to the air. But,
Thank you. This is the father-in-law, the guy that owns the laundromat.
I just want to let you know, I hope you make it there, and if you don't, your job will always be open here.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
Thanks,
It'll be good
George.
listening to you, and Mr. Grant, keep
Yes,
going.
George. Okay, George.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That must be some laundromat there. I bet you that's the focal point for social activities there.
Yes, it is.
They exchange-
Especially since I'm there.
What are they talking about down there, Lynn?
Neighborhood stuff again.
Neighborhood
I mean,
stuff.
it's like real. It's boring to anybody but us. You know, we talk about each other. Do you know what she said? Oh, do you know those two are fighting? You know, all that kind of horrid neighborhood got Peyton Place in the village.
Do you like Scandal? Well, we all like. We're all yentas.
I love Scandal.
Yeah, we're all yentas.
The Donald and Marla.
What do you make of that?
Oh, I don't know. I think they're both crazy. It's me.
Oh.
That ring. Who's going to pay for that ring? He has no money.
How about the fact that Donald Trump pretended that he was a guy by the name of John Miller? There's no such person as John Miller. He said this was John Miller, Mr. Trump's publicity man. And it was really Donald using, trying to change his voice.
Well, because he was ashamed to be tooting his own horn.
Oh. Unbelievable. Let's try another call here. Bob, you're on WABC with Lynn Samuels. Go ahead.
I hear it.
Yes, Bob, go ahead.
Yeah.
What's so funny? Nobody said anything.
No, I want to talk to Bob.
You want to talk to Bob?
Yeah, but you know about the topic about Seminaro.
About what?
About the Seminaro, about that bill about cops.
Oh, yeah. What about it?
In other words, I can't understand where he wants to put rehabilitated drug addict cops back on the job. There's too many.
Well, if they're who's to say they're truly rehabilitated?
That's what I'm going to say, Bob.
Now you see, you have to do like they did with a ball player by the name of Steve Howe.
That's right.
Unfortunately, he is rehabilitated, and he's pitching like the Steve Howe of old. And that's too bad because he's wearing the wrong uniform.
Right. But the thing is, Bob, there's so many decent guys on the police department, and these fellas are putting their life on the line every day, and then they got these bums that are going around shaking down dealers and taking drugs and taking everything else. And as far as Seminaro goes, he ought to know a lot about this because he was a correction officer at Rikers Island, and how many of them guys were rehabilitated?
All right, Bob, I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't agree with you completely. Thank you very much.
Okay, Bob.
Lynn Samuels has spent this hour with us. And Lynn, I want to tell our audience, that you have come back here about 25 pounds less than you were when you left here.
No, 5 pounds.
5?
5. Cross my heart, it's only 5.
Only 5? How could 5 look like 25?
It's that magic 5 pounds. There's a magic 5 that looks like a lot more.
Well, whatever it is, you're looking like a
my hair
streamlined
still
version.
dyed the same color. You don't like it.
Well, it's West. What did I call it before? West Greenwich Village Orange. Good luck, Lynn.
Thanks, Bob.
And be good, please. 5 o'clock.